This morning, our keynote speaker is a friend of ours, and I'm very pleased and honored that he's here again this year and is taking time out of his busy schedule, and that's the Honorable William J. Howell, who's the Speaker of Virginia House of Delegates. The Speaker has served as the 54th Speaker of the Virginia House of Delegates since January of 2003. He's done an outstanding job. He's had a difficult time, especially during these trying times. And we may not always agree with him, but there's one thing we can do. We can agree to disagree. And we know how to do that. And we have to embrace whatever is presented to us, and we have to continue to communicate. And that's the main reason that we do have the Speaker coming here, and that's the reason that he's coming here, to meet with us and for us to be able to work together to solve the issues that are in front of us in the great Commonwealth of Virginia. Speaker Howell represents the 28th House District, which includes parts of Stafford County and the city of Fredericksburg. He is the chairman of the House Rules Committee and the Joint House-Senate Rules Committee. If you would, please stand and welcome the Speaker of the House, Speaker Howell.
Thank you very much. And usually I get nervous when people stand up as I get ready to speak. Get ready to leave. But thank you very much, Philip, for that nice introduction. And what a wonderful banquet you had last night. And it was a very special time for so many of you. And Jim, I'm glad you got the recognition that you, it's probably a little raise, that watch, but that's okay. It's a nice watch. And I want to thank Mike and Dean and all who played a role in making this a very special annual gathering. And once again, it's a pleasure for me to be here with so many public servants and government officials, community leaders from all across this great Commonwealth. Each of you has been given the privilege and responsibility by the people of Virginia to represent their interests at the level of government closest to them. And despite your varied backgrounds and viewpoints, coming together at events like this reminds us, as Philip said, how much is possible if we make it a priority to listen and to learn and to work together towards our common goal of improving our communities and this great Commonwealth. This year, VACO certainly has another vigorous agenda. I'm glad that you'll be hearing from a number of other legislators, and please take the opportunity to talk with them about your concerns and your issues. The conference theme of resilience is certainly an apt one. It's a trait that we all share with our taxpayers and families and small businesses who've struggled to make ends meet during these very difficult economic times. As every government official here is painfully aware, the U.S. economy has been through a Great Depression. The past several years have not been easy for job-creating businesses, those they employ, and the family breadwinners whose paychecks help fill state and local coffers. Government at all levels has shared in the pain and sacrifice. Yet, instead of being buried by bad news, Virginia leaders like you, regardless of region, political party, or level of financial difficulties, have been resilient. You've rallied to restore fiscal responsibility in state and local budgets and helped to create job opportunities all across Virginia. Reining in government spending to keep taxes competitively low is vital for fostering a healthy economic environment in Virginia, conducive to capital formation, entrepreneurial risk-taking, new investments, and more jobs. Virginia cannot tax its way into prosperity. History proves that. And that's why we need to remain vigilant regarding government spending. Virginia's revenue forecast and budget outlook clearly shows that state and local governments are nowhere near out of the woods. Based on current economic indicators, such as jobs and new hires, unemployment claims, the worst does appear to be behind us. And while this is good news, we're still confronted with a very anemic recovery, more so nationally than in Virginia. But again, even here, we're far from being in the clear. While Virginia's economic recovery continues to outpace the nation and is the envy of most states, the fact remains that the worst recession since the 1930s has caused the steepest decline in our state tax revenues on record. As a result, even after enacting a number of positive reforms and making steep spending cuts over the last 2 years, The Commonwealth continues to face budget gaps. As we approach the 2011 session and look at fiscal year 2012, the state budget continues to face growing caseloads and enrollment pressures in Medicaid, state corrections and local jails, sexually violent predator offender programs, child support. And at the same time, the loss of federal stimulus money, for example, in higher education totaling $150 million, that if left unaddressed by the Governor and General Assembly next year, will result in further tuition increases for parents and students. To the degree that we can address these and other pressing issues, policymakers likely will have to do so without any measurable change in the current general fund revenue forecast that was adopted during the 2010 session. The optimist in me says that such circumstances present an opportunity. Scrutiny of government bureaucracy, both at the state and local level, and its delivery of services is not a bad thing. It's much needed, and actually it's what taxpayers expect. So too is reforming and refocusing spending priorities. Not to be full of doom and gloom, but the 2013-14 biennial budget doesn't look much better at this time. We continue to face increasing caseloads and utilization of Medicaid, which, by the way, now consumes over 21% of our general fund budget, compared with 13% just 10 years ago. We face implementation of federal health reform, higher contribution rates to the Virginia Supplemental Retirement System, payments to previously promised economic development incentive packages, re-benchmarking of K through 12 education, and a mandatory deposit to the Commonwealth's Rainy Day Fund. With all that on our plate, and if state general revenues could rebound to our historical trend growth level of roughly 6%, the Governor and the General Assembly are still going to find it a real challenge to structurally balance the state budget. Since 50% of the state revenue collections are appropriated each year to local governments, I know that VACO is going to be closely following the discussions that will be held at the House Appropriations Committee and Senate Finance Committee retreats later this month. And of course, Virginia is not alone in confronting these challenges. All states, which unlike the federal government operate under balanced budget requirements, will be struggling for the foreseeable future to find and to prioritize revenues needed to support government services. That's the new fiscal reality. Operating successfully in it requires new ideas, budget discipline, and investments that deliver results. In light of this new fiscal reality, it's incumbent on policymakers at all levels of government to think anew, with fresh eyes, about what government does, why it does something, and how it could be done differently or better, or even if government should be involved at all. Of course, many of you are probably rolling your eyes and saying to yourself,